I hate dust. I don't want it building up in my home.
Well, it's been a while, but I'm finally back. Got my stool, got my controller, got my smile. And it's time to start a brand new game. Season 6 was fantastic, Season 7 was good, and Season 8 was pretty lame, but I'm gonna look at Season 9 with a fresh mind and see what they've got in store for us. Let's go.
It is time for us to retire.
You may call me Grogar.
I'm Finn the Pony, and it's time for Finn Bits. So, the beginning of the end. An episode where a plethora of villains from Twilight's past join forces to try and defeat the main six once and for all. Or at least they would have if Sombra didn't try to do it himself first. Did this seasonal beginning keep me engaged until the end? Let's find out. Well, this is it, guys. The final season of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic is upon us at last. Some have been anticipating it, some have been dreading it, and some could care less because they stopped watching a while ago. As for me, I'm cautiously optimistic. Season 8 was clear proof that the show was starting to run out of juice, but at the same time it had some standout gems that gave me glimmers of hope for the show's future. And since this is the last bunch of episodes before they finally close up shop, I expect that they're going to throw everything they can at the audience for one last big show-stopping send-off. And it all starts with another 2-part opener. So, how'd they do? Well, let's start off with the most important part of any MLP episode, the characters. The main six return as the usual stars of the show, with Twilight as the major player in the episode's conflict. And like with many two-parters in the series, she's been given a new long-term responsibility to deal with. First it was learning about friendship, then becoming a princess, then opening a friendship school, and now it's becoming leader of all Equestria. Alright, we all know how this is gonna go down. Twilight freaks out, her friends do the best to comfort her, and
I'll feel much better once you make a plan. Oh, wow. It's like you
Knew you were going to react this way? We did.
oh. So, not really comforting, and more like just sitting back and letting Twilight go through her little process, complete with a calm demeanor and preparations made beforehand. Now, I'm sure a lot of people might think of this concept as lazy, as if the writers are admitting, oh, we know this plotline is done to death, but it's okay because we're acknowledging how overdone it is. But the execution here actually makes it feel pretty natural. I can say from experience that acting neurotic under stress is something that tends to come back and bite you many times in your life, and I gotta give Twilight credit for coming as far as she has. Back in the earlier seasons, she would panic over every single minute thing, to the point where not learning a friendship lesson would cause her to downward spiral into madness. Now, if she were to panic over a simple princess duty or a small-scale thing that she's faced in the past, that would be repetitious. But her stressing out because she's about to run a country is 100% justified, since it's an extreme she's never gone to before, and she's got such a short time to prepare for it. Jeez, could you imagine if Season 1 Twilight got this news? That would probably put her in a coma. And her friends just sorta sitting back and acting calm also shows some evolution on their part, where instead of directly telling her that everything is gonna be okay, they just chill and let her come to that conclusion herself. It really enforces the fact that these 7 have been friends for 8 seasons now, and are familiar with each other's quips to the point where they know step by step exactly how they're gonna act in a certain situation. It's really cute. And trust me, that's only one standout scene involving these characters. Rarity digs with her hooves to save her friends despite finding it appalling, Fluttershy puts in a good fight against Sombra's guards even though she's clearly scared, Spike continues to be the ultimate supportive straight man while flying on his brand new wings, and even Pinkie takes a second to drop the jokey demeanor and take a scene seriously when it calls for it. While Twilight is obviously the main focus here, I love the little reminders that everyone in the cast has grown in some way, shape, or form. It's a far cry from certain Season 8 episodes where they had to undo a lot of character development just to have a story. Plus you have some of their personality quirks that never get old, like Pinkie's random humor or Applejack's blunt honesty. along with some major moments of awesomeness, like when Twilight just swats away Sombra spells like they're nothing. I think the main 6 here were the perfect mix of classic and developed, with enough moments for each of them to stand out. In addition to the main cast, we have the princesses being directly useful in the battle against Sombra, and even showing some of their fun-loving sides when they successfully troll both Twilight and Discord with their little retiring in a few days joke. Also, it's very cathartic to see the main 6 finally realize that the princesses don't do very much. Though the implication that it was all done on purpose to prepare Twilight for the throne is a little concerning. I mean, they put the fate of their entire kingdom and everyone in it on the line intentionally just to show Twilight and company how to handle threats on their own? Technically, yes, they did end up winning most of the time, but that's a pretty risky move just for some simple training. And what about the times that the main 6 couldn't handle the situation? Like to wear and back again, or school race? What if that was the case every single time? You would have been preparing your pupil for a position that she might not even get because you wouldn't even have a kingdom anymore. Yeah, I might be overthinking things again, but that's a pretty stupid move on the sister's part. Discord in this episode is like the perfect blend of everything that makes him one of the show's best characters. He's got the typical comedic chaos going on in every other scene, which never gets old to watch. Even when he's placed in a mediocre episode, that shtick always leads to some of the funniest moments on display. He returns to his teaching methods from Princess Twilight Sparkle, where he lets Twilight learn an important life lesson completely on her own, even if it means she'll be put in some danger along the way. That side of Discord was one of my favorite elements of the Season 4 premiere, and seeing him use it again put a big smile on my face. And by that I mean bigger than it usually is. Plus, it was nice to see John Delancey try his hand at a more emotional scene with Discord, where he genuinely had to act defeated and weak while giving a big dramatic speech about how the main 6 can do anything they set their minds to. And for those that think his speech was a little too awkward and cheesy, well, you can be happy knowing that Discord was never heard and was just playing it up for dramatic effect, which I completely saw coming and yet still laughed at it when it happened. So yeah, the whole thing was fake, but the emotion felt very real. Plus, Fluttershy's reaction to Discord being injured is just heartbreaking. After all these years, I still want to hug her whenever she cries. And of course, what character discussion would be complete without talking about the brand new villain, Grogar? I can tell just from this appearance that he's going to be a great season antagonist. He brought some of MLP's previous baddies together in order to form a new team to finally take the main 6 down. Not only is this a great way to show some chemistry between these villains, kinda like a smaller version of the League of Villains from Jimmy Neutron, but it really shows just how smart and cunning Grogar is. He found out that it was always teamwork which led to the main 6 achieving victory, so he figured that forming a team of his own is the perfect way to exact revenge. And when you look at the big picture, yeah, it makes perfect sense. Every villain on this team is notorious for making oversights in their plans, underestimating their opponents, or just misunderstanding how certain things about magic or friendship work. So having multiple villains working together means that they can pick up the slack if someone messes up. And with someone like Grogar at the helm, I'm sure things will run much smoother than it would if any of these 4 were put in charge. And as some proof of that, look at what happens when Sombra strikes out on his own. Sombra brashly opposes the idea of a team-up and says that he could conquer the Crystal Kingdom all on his own. So you know what Grogar does? He actually lets him do it. Like, hey man, you want to try and conquer by yourself? Yeah, sure, go ahead. If you succeed, then the Crystal Kingdom's all yours, but don't say I didn't warn ya. And what ends up happening? He gets defeated by the power of friendship, and Grogar uses him as an example of how stupid working by yourself actually is. He doesn't even bring him back. He just lets Sombra act as proof for what could happen if the remaining 3 did something similar. That's pretty hardcore for a Smurf goat. Also, while on the topic of Sombra, I know a lot of people had problems with his portrayal where he was a lot less menacing and a lot more hammy, but I actually had a lot of fun with him. I liked how much of a megalomaniac he was, how prideful he acted, and some of his plans were well thought out. Sure, he's less threatening than he was in Crystal Empire, sure he sounds like a discount Glossaric from Star Versus, but I've always had an attraction to hammy villains. Heck, Discord is still one of my favorite antagonists in the series to this day, so take that for what it's worth, I guess. The rest of the episode was pretty awesome too. The pacing for the most part was pretty solid, aside from maybe Sombra's takeover, which felt way too quick. Heck, this guy needed the Crystal Heart to be gone and Cadence's shield to fade before he could take over in the Season 3 premiere, but now he just waltzes straight in and claims the throne like it was nothing? But I get it, 44 minutes and all that, plus the rest of it was paced well enough. I like how the plot tended to raise the stakes every so often to keep you on your toes, like forcing the main 6 to fight their friends, or Sombra destroying the Tree of Harmony. They're little touches, but they did a lot to amp up the tension. And of course, certain elements like the new supervillain team and the idea of Twilight becoming Equestria's new ruler gives us something to look forward to as the season goes on. That's one key part of a good season premiere. You gotta get people hyped for what's to come, and this episode nailed it. And last but not least, prepare yourselves for this. The villain's backstory doesn't involve a friendship misunderstanding! Yup, just a good old-fashioned king of the monsters who used to rule over Equestria and wants his title back. Simple motivation, nice and evil, that's all we really need. And I look forward to just how threatening he's gonna get as we get closer and closer to the finale. The beginning of the end is like a giant reminder of why we like MLP in the first place. And after season 8, we desperately needed that. While it's always nice to have two-parters that feel huge and epic and grand, what really makes MLP great are the characters, how they grow, and how they interact. A large-scale conflict with a ton of fights, action, and lore isn't going to mean anything if the characters aren't interesting. This episode knows that and fully embraces it. Excellent portrayals of the main six and all they've learned, top-notch Discord moments, enjoyable interactions between the villains, tons of potential for what's to come, nostalgic callbacks that don't feel forced, and a well-paced but not overblown sense of adventure. If I had to rank the two-part season premieres off the top of my head, it would go as follows. My favorite is Princess Twilight Sparkle, followed by Return of Harmony, Beginning of the End, The Crystal Empire, Friendship is Magic, The Crystaling, The Cutie Map, and finally School Days. So it's definitely up there as one of my top 3 favorites. It's true that all good things must come to an end, but luckily this is only the beginning of a hopefully fantastic season. Well, I hope you all enjoyed my quick little playthrough of this episode, and feel free to tell me what you thought of this episode in the comments below. Was Beginning of the End a great start off to the season? Will any other villains be added to Grogar's little posse? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for playing along with me. I'm Finn the Pony, and I hope to see you all next time on Finnthepony.